The Packers have played their 4 quarters. Now it's time for the 5th quarter.
Last night at Lambeau, Packers walk off the Niners 33-30. We are going to have a heck of a time explaining that one for the boys. They're now 3-2-1, and they get a week to collect themselves before they visit the gauntlet coming out of the bye. A lot of locker room stuff to get to in a minute. Alongside, as always, Matt Z. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
How do you explain a guy that can't kick indoors and can't miss outdoors?
It is a tough one to explain, but it's Mason Crosby, man. I mean, what a perfect storybook game for Mason Crosby after that debacle from Detroit. Just that ending, it couldn't have gone any better for him. Couldn't have gone any better.
What a crazy, crazy night. Packers finally get off to the fast start. 17 in the first quarter.
And it looked like it was going to be a blowout.
I thought it was going to be a blowout, but the Niners made some plays, and they gashed the Packer defense early. They were up at the half, but while it turned into kind of a field goal battle until the final 5 minutes, defense got its footing, and then 2 drives with 3 minutes to play produced 10 points in a win for Aaron Rodgers, making some fantastic throws to just about everybody on that roster.
Couple of throws to Devontae Adams, that one on the sideline to EQ. His touch, especially in the fourth quarter, was spectacular. He was fantastic, and it's just another one of those chapters that you write for Aaron Rodgers, and the legend continues to grow, however you want to describe it.
I know there's a lot of hand-wringing going on in town about, this team wasn't ready to play.
What's the relationship with Rodgers McCarthy? We still don't know.
Target again. Defense, where's Dom Capers? What's he doing now?
Did you actually see those tweets?
I got a tweet. Where's Dom?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know where he is. But he's not coming back, folks.
I know that.
But the bottom line I wanted to get to is, okay, after tonight, you're not going to care how it happened, only that it did happen. All right?
Yes.
Do you remember exactly how the Bear game went? Does it matter? Bill's shutout. A Bills shutout, and this one last night, for all of the warts that are still evident on this team, doesn't matter.
The W is the thing, right? The win is the thing. As long as you are getting wins along the way, there's growing pains and there's mistakes, and you'll look bad one quarter, you'll look brilliant another quarter, you'll play defense for one half, it's not so good for a second half. As long as you walk out with a W, if this were the playoffs, would you be complaining about a 33-30 walk-off win?
There would be some who would.
There might be some that would, yes, in our overreaction Twitter world in which we live, sure.
I know.
But I've always maintained the W is the thing. I know they're not all going to be pretty, and they don't need to be as long as you're winning along the way.
And I'll say this for the Niners. Kyle Shanahan is, I think, a very good offensive mind.
Absolutely.
That's the way he got hired by John Lynch out there. They've put up 400-plus on a couple of teams this season, and they've lost on the road, I think, now 3 really close games. So there can't be that far off. And even Rodgers mentioned it last week. He said the difference between, a play, and a big play is this close between a subpar team and a really good team is this much. There really isn't a lot of difference in the NFL. There really isn't. You've got the Rams who look like they're head and shoulders above everybody else, but everybody else is knocking heads and shoulders every Sunday or Monday.
Right. And are the Rams really head and shoulders above everyone else, or have they just not got slapped in the mouth yet and been tested?
Just took them to the wire in Denver.
Yeah. I don't know that there's any team that's head and shoulders above anyone, because this is such an offensive-driven league that anyone can get hot and anyone can put up points and you can put up a bunch of yards. And if a couple of guys on defense just have a bad game or miss one blown coverage,
or suddenly miss 5 kicks.
Or miss 5 kicks. Suddenly a team that should have won is staring down the barrel of a loss.
All right, so they get it done, and we'll spend some time in the locker room to hear from the guys who got it done. And we'll begin with head coach Mike McCarthy batting leadoff.
Well, excellent win for our football team tonight. Excellent adversity win. I can't say enough about a number of the individual performances. I think, the finish here with Mason getting the final kick, the 2-minute drives there, led by Aaron Rodgers, the defensive stops, the adversity key plays that we made, were just huge.
Yeah, extra large, no question about it.
I'm glad you said batting leadoff, because I obviously know that's a Brewers reference.
Well, of course.
Last night was Wisconsin 2, California 0.
Yeah, handled no Cal here, SoCal there.
It was awesome.
Yeah, go Brewers.
That's right.
2 away from
the entire
Fall
state
Classic.
of California crying, licking their wounds today.
Good for them.
Yes.
Good for them. All right. San Francisco head coach, as I mentioned, Kyle Shanahan. I think he's good, but he says we was Rodgers'd.
We didn't get it done. We had a chance to win today. Very disappointing that we didn't. One of the offense go out and finish it, and we didn't. And give Aaron a chance with the ball like that. If he's done that a lot of times.
A couple of times this year, as a matter of fact.
And they gave him a second chance with the Richard Sherman screw-up on Devontae Adams.
Yeah. He wasn't complaining about it.
No.
He held court in the visitors' locker room yesterday. So they threw the flag. He did grab him. I mean, it was...
But that was a big sack in that situation. That game could have completely changed.
It's overtime. Yeah, if that doesn't get called, for sure. Well, it came down to Mason Crosby's 27-yard walk-off, a perfect 7 for 7 after the disaster in Detroit.
Oh, you see how special this team is. I mean, that last drive there was unreal, and the chemistry that this locker room has. Everyone's always bringing each other up, trying to make sure that we have each other's back. And like I said, just the guys never wavered from how they felt about me as a man and as a football player. And knew that I worked really hard this week to make sure that I'd come through if I was called on this week for this game. And like I said, I'm tired. I'm glad we have the bye week and ready to keep moving forward.
After not sleeping for 7 nights, he slept pretty well last night, I am sure.
Isn't that the great thing about sports?
Well, sports is awesome.
Right.
It's the best reality television out there.
Just those
incredibly goofy
stories that unfold in front of you from week to week. And a man can be so down and everyone can be against you, and then you're built back up and you have a fantastic night and you have a walk-off winner. Field goal. It's great. Sports are great.
Yeah, it's stupid great. It is, really. But even before the kick, hey, don't forget Aaron Rodgers got the pack even at 30 with 1:55 to go, turning twice to Devontae Adams on that drive.
Well, I was going to come to him. I was looking actually at the release on the backside first, and then was going to obviously come to Devontae. He was the hot hand. I mean, he rolls out of bed. He's the hot hand. He's a talented guy, and tonight was. Was how we need to play moving forward. 16 targets for Devontae, I think 9 for Jimmy. That's where we want to be.
10 for $132 for Adams and 2 more touchdowns. He has scored more touchdowns on receptions than anyone in the NFL since the start of last season. Shares the league lead this year, and he talks about a 521-yard offensive night.
We got out to a quick start, and then we got stagnant for a minute, and that was definitely frustrating. But I mean, that's part of football. It's not always. I mean, those guys get paid too, so it's not always going to be smooth. But you gotta figure it out and get through it and win the game. And that's what we did.
We certainly did. Jimmy Graham went over 100 yards. Marquez Valdez-Scantling did on just 3 catches. Only the second time in franchise history they've had 3 100-yard receivers on a single performance.
Good night for the receiving corps.
Yes, and without Cobb and Allison again. Jamon Moore even caught one. And Equiminius St. Brown with that big fourth-quarter grab. MVS, as they like to call him, said, we're not rookies anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they brought us in here for. It's unfortunate that, our vets are down right now. But, when you draft 3 guys, you want those guys to step in when the older guys are down with no drop-off. So that's what we did tonight.
We all were kind of impressed with their athleticism all summer long, okay? And then Jamon Moore had a really bad case of the yips. Kind of fell by the wayside. Equiminius St. Brown rarely flashed, but Valdez-Scantling has been kind of the consistent one of the 3. But now all 3 got involved, made plays. I mean, Moore's catch was in the fourth quarter. St. Brown had the huge one on the sideline with 11 seconds left. Valdez-Scantling is making plays start to finish.
Yeah, you can see they each have big play ability. And Rodgers talked with ESPN on the field after the game, and he mentioned, especially MVS. He says he's ahead of the rest of the guys right now, but the other guys aren't that far behind. And once everyone starts clicking, there's going to be a nice flow to these guys in that offense.
I don't know how you're going to get them all on the field at the same time in a couple of weeks. As for the defense, well, they were put on their heels early. 290 yards on 29 plays. That's 10 yards a play.
Yeah.
And 24
San Francisco was doing what they wanted.
And 24 points in the first half. Kenny Clark and company, though, gave up $174 on the ground as well, but they sure dug in late.
It was tough. It was tough because towards the end, they had a drive where they were just running the ball on us, and it was just like we couldn't stop them. And we could have gave up, but happy how we played, and we showed just our effort and our heart. We just made some plays when they counted, really.
The guy's making a lot of tackles, though.
Yeah.
7. Blake had a dozen last night, and the D got some big plays late. Clay with the sack to set up the game-tying drive, and then his pressure led to C.J. Beathard's last deep shot that got picked by Kevin King.
Kind of put our guys on an island on the back, and usually the quarterback doesn't have enough time to get rid of it. And he was able to throw one up, and Kev made a heck of a play, especially against 11, I think it was, who's got world-class speed. So made a huge play when we needed it, and obviously, we preach it all the time. Turnovers, give the ball back to our offense, and good things are going to happen. Unfortunately, Aaron kind of commanded that last drive and took it down, and we got the game winner.
Yeah, he mentioned number 11. That little Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin.
He can fly.
Yeah. World-class speed. Makes some big plays.
That route he put on Tramon Williams.
Yeah.
Made
the 35-year-old look like 65, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a veteran type of a route.
Yeah, it really was. Well, we'll finish with the coach, too. Mike McCarthy said the final 2 possessions were vintage Rodgers.
I mean, Aaron's had great ones throughout the years, and I just, the time and just really the menu, the operation, and there was clinic. I mean, there's so many key plays are all the way down to the end, even taking all the time off of the clock, kicking the field goal there at 3 seconds. So top-notch stuff.
Top-notch.
Especially that touchdown throw to Adams that was just over the fingertips of the defender. If that defender's an inch taller, he breaks that ball up. Or if that ball is an inch lower, a couple inches higher, it goes out of the end zone.
He tried the fade of Valdez-Scantling on the 4th and goal play. Yeah. Terrible throw.
Yep.
Down, it was a back shoulder, but off the back of the defensive back. The Adams one, though, absolutely perfect. I thought the 38-yarder was even a better throw.
Yeah, great throw.
That was just a dart that dropped
right in. That sideline one to Equimenius, where he stops and turns, and it's there.
A little behind him. That was more St. Brown than it was 12, to tell you
and
the
I think
truth.
That's what's lost in this as well a lot of times, is receivers make great plays on those balls, too.
Yeah.
Like, they're not always in the perfect spot, but the receivers make it look like it's in the perfect spot.
Well, they got it done, and we're just getting started. We got plenty more to talk about on that game and what's in front of these guys in a very muddled NFC North race. Glad you're here tonight. We got some great stuff to give away. We're going to send somebody shopping to the Packer Pro Shop from our friends at Robinson's. We'll do the hot and cold plays as well. And we are statewide. We welcome you in Sheboygan and Wausau, and viewing on our websites company-wide. It's the Stadium View on Holmgren Way.
They've got Double Bubble every Monday from 10 a.m. to close, every weekday from 10 to 7, and Double Bubble during all Brewers games.
We're bubbling tonight.
Doesn't matter the day of the week, what time it is, during every Brewer game. They have DJ Trivia every Thursday from 5 to 6:30. And stop in before and after the Leonard Skinner concerts. They're going to have overflow bar and seating open as well.
Sweet home Alabama.
Always pregame at the Stadium View.
All right, when we come back, more on the Packer win, and we'll introduce our guest for the night. Don't go away. 5th quarter returns right after this timeout. All righty, welcome back, everybody. Packers stay undefeated at home with a walk-off knockoff of the 49ers last night. Funny thing happened on the way to the bye week, though, and over to the stadium today. Mike McCarthy's press conference was held. I started editing tape, and then I got a text from Josh Jackson's Jerry Maguire, who said he has another engagement at this same time. And this was after I talked to Josh after the ball game last night. He didn't know anything about his other engagement. And the agent said, well, why didn't you talk to me first? And I said, well, Josh never told me I have to deal with you first. So sorry about that, folks.
He's a grown man.
The Iowa rookie will come later. But the best pinch hitter and another baseball reference that we could possibly get. Longtime friend of mine on the Packer beat, former Press Gazette beat writer, and now your ESPN Packers correspondent. Ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Chicago, Rob Demovsky joining us. Hello, Rob.
You don't even have to go through my agent to get me here. You can just go direct.
That's right. You have an agent now, don't you?
We don't talk about business.
That's true.
Isn't that what Ted Thompson used to say?
Yeah.
You've got an agent?
Well, he needs an agent.
Mr. Big Time.
Busy man. How's that working out for you at ESPN?
It's great. This is season 6, believe it or not.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, 6 years at ESPN after Almost 16 at the Press Gazette.
And don't ask, but I got you covered on that.
I'm sure you do.
I'm sure you do.
You must be the senior member of the media corps now, right? Because
Gotta be. McGinn's off.
Or were you before McGinn anyway?
I just preceded Bob by a year.
And Cliff is the team historian. So
he doesn't count.
Yeah.
And Spoon's close, too.
Okay.
Tommy Silverstein of the, I can't even say the Journal Sentinel anymore.
Right.
It's the Ganatoids.
USA Today, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Network.
true.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this bunch? And what did you think of that one last night, Rob?
Here's the thing. You guys are talking about the stretch coming up. I mean, the 5 games that they have, how many realistically will they win? At the Rams, who I did talk to one guy in the league yesterday.
I can't wait to
who
see
said
that game.
He thinks the Packers actually match up pretty well with the Rams. And then, obviously, across the country, Patriots. Then the home game against Miami, who is better than we thought.
Yeah, okay. But
Seattle is not as good.
That's true.
But that's a tough place to play. And then, of course, the Minnesota game. We do, back in April when the schedule comes out. And,
that's a win, loss,
right,
win,
right.
tie,
So we all do it. And I had the Packers 5-1 at this point going to the bye week. But then I had them only winning 1 of the next 5. So now if they go 1-4 now we're looking at what would that be? 4? I'm bad at math. 4, 6, and 1, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not now maybe even if they win 2, you think, well, that's not too bad, but that still puts them at not in great shape.
Is somebody going to run away with the division?
Well, that's the thing. This might be a year that 9-6-1 wins the division, and really 9-6-1 is probably doable.
The last tie was 8-7-1 and won the division.
Right, and that was 2013, right, when Rodgers missed part of the year and they go to Chicago. I mean, this could very well be, a similar type thing to 2013 where, whoever gets in sort of sneaks in, and then, there's not going to be a wild card team probably from this division, at least as it looks right now. But, boy, you get a home game and you never know.
So for you, Rob, as you head into the bye week, what's your number one storyline on offense, number one storyline on defense?
Well, it's a great question, Matt, because I looked at this today from our fine folks at ESPN Stats and Information.
They just feed you so much.
Yeah, it's some of it's pretty interesting though, because you look at offensively. This was the 5th straight game that Rodgers has attempted at least 40 passes. That is by far the longest. He's never gone more than 3 in a row where he's attempted 40. The NFL record is 7, so he's two away from that record. But what does that tell you, Mark and Matt? That tells you that they're so reliant on him right now, and that they're falling behind. Those are patterns that they have to correct. But it was asked today in McCarthy's press conference, and it's a good point. If you're so successful in that 2-minute no huddle thing, why not use that at the start?
I brought that up Sunday night on Cover 2. I said, don't be surprised if they go no huddle or 2 minutes early.
And they didn't until they fell behind. But McCarthy said today that, hopefully, he used the word hopefully, we can establish that early. So, that would be a way to sort of beat the Rams at their own game, is to up-tempo it on them. And so I think that's the big thing offensively. And defensively, I think we all thought, at least I fell into this, that Mike Pettin was going to be this big difference maker.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a lot of talent, this is one thing I'm going to look at over the next couple days, a story later this week, is the last 3 drafts, not counting this year, but the last 3 of Ted, 15, 16, and 17. How many starters do you think there are from those drafts, just off the top of your head?
Oh, wow.
2.
It's more than that.
All right.
But it's 4.
4? 5?
It's Kenny Clark and you call it up. Who else was in that? It's Kenny Clark. I'm drawing a blank
Kevin
here.
King?
Kevin King. One of the
Clinton Dix.
Clinton Dix was
Martinez?
before that. Blake Martinez. Clinton Dix was 14, and then the running back, whether it's Jones or Montgomery or
Williams
or Williams, one of those. So it's 4. I surveyed all of our 32 reporters around the league. There's only one team that has fewer starters from those 3 drafts than the Packers. And if you look at those drafts, it was defensive intensive, and they just didn't hit on enough of those. I mean, there's some teams that from those 3 drafts, 15, 16, and 17, have as many as 10 starters.
Good Lord.
The Packers have 4. And it tells you that they're just so far behind defensively from those last 3 drafts. And look, Ted Thompson did a great job early in his career. You know, some people think he's one of the best drafters in the game, but he wasn't those last 3 years. He missed on way too many picks, and it's come back to haunt them. I mean, look at the 2015 draft. The only guy still on the roster is Ty Montgomery. I'm not just talking starters. On the roster.
Yeah. That's 5-year veterans.
Yeah, those are guys who should be. Those are guys who should be, you know, in the prime, ready to get another contract.
Right,
and you know they'll be free. That class will be free agents this coming season, and there's basically nobody left. So I think that more than anything has hurt them defensively. Pettin, you know, hasn't had quite the impact that I thought he would, but it's probably because, you know, you look at their defense compared to the Vikings. The Vikings have multiple playmakers at every level: defensive line, linebacker, safety, cornerback. These guys have 1 or 2 on the entire defense, and that's it.
Yeah, that's clear, no question. I think the Wilkerson injury hurt. They're very thin up front and not collapsing pockets with just 4.
One of those draft picks, Montravius Adams, can't even get on the field.
Yeah. As the 4th.
Right,
they're in the rotation. Yeah, and you know, and the big investment guys, Matthews and Perry, they were sitting for several series last night in place of Fackrell and Gilbert.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, if you would have said neither of those guys would have missed a game with injury and Cobb and Allison would have missed multiple games, I never would have believed it. The one thing is, Perry and Matthews have actually been healthy, which is sort of, you know, a difference for those guys.
This was a hot storyline on social media and the papers for a couple of weeks. What do you make of the Rodgers-McCarthy relationship dynamic?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, they've gone through this before. We've seen, you know, on the field confrontations. We've seen comments made privately. Look, I think when you're not playing up to capabilities, this is the kind of thing that's going to be discussed. Rodgers made it a topic. We all know him. He got up there in that Buffalo game and did that for a reason. What his reason was?
He never says anything without thinking of what he's going to say. He was
clearly he wanted a point to be made. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why he felt that need, but there was definitely something that he wanted to get off his chest, and because of it, he brought this whole story back to the forefront. And you know, it's not going to go away until they get on a run where they have sustained success.
Is it a tired marriage?
Yeah, that's a hard question. How long have you been married?
35 in a couple weeks.
I've been married 20.
All right.
They all get tired. My wife's not listening to this. She's at a baseball game. There's no way she's listening.
That's why it's safe to say.
Safe to say. You're not recording this, are you?
No.
Yeah, marriages are tough. But, you know, coming here to the show, usually get a good gift card and spend it on her, and everything's good.
Well, and especially in sports where everyone is an alpha male.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. I mean, the egos involved with this are off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, off the charts. And when McCarthy says, it's 2 highly competitive guys, it is, but it's also 2 huge ego guys. And
I'm a highly successful
there's stubbornness to it. I'm sure if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're watching the Rams and the Chiefs and these dynamic offenses and going, why can't we be more like this? I thought they were more like that on that first series. I thought they actually came out with some really dynamic stuff. The first play of the game, they run the play action. Which they hit Valdez-Scantling. Then Jones rips off a 16-yard run. And that play, the deception play on the touchdown to Montgomery, that's the kind of stuff that I think Rodgers would like to do more of.
You know, the jump out foreign formation to that little slip thing.
Yeah, it was that's creativity that I think Rodgers wants.
I think Aaron wants less of the multiple personnel groupings and more of my best playmakers.
Yeah, I
think he would just soon have Jones, Adams, Allison, Cobb, and Graham, and let's go.
Some of their best seasons was when they went no huddle, 2011, 2014, stuck with 3 wides, a tight end, and a running back, and just marched down the field.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with those teams is they scored so fast that the defense had to go back out there. In 2011, I mean, they were, 31st in passing yards allowed, and Rodgers was first in offense. So you have to have it all has to go together.
I'll give the defense some credit and Mike Pettin for getting things at least cleaned up a little bit in that game last night. First series, Niners executed brilliantly.
Yeah.
Okay, then they hit 2 shot plays. Really.
Right.
And they gave up only 111 yards.
Yeah.
And 6 points after halftime.
You talk about a stale marriage. That's what it became with Capers. I mean, look, in 2009 and 10, Dom Capers' stuff was really good. Yeah. It worked. The problem was he's kept running the same stuff.
That's what Tremont Williams said when he came back.
Yeah, and the league caught up with him. And Tremont's 100% right. That's when you flip it over to the offensive side. McCarthy's been running a successful offense for a long time, but eventually the league catches up to it. And that's where things needed to change or need to change.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll keep going with Rob Demovsky of ESPN. In a minute, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll start playing the fun and games department. We'll look for our hot play of the day. Don't go away. Fifth quarter returns to the Stadium View right after this break.
Live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill, here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The Green Bay Packers have a countdown record. 3, 2, 1. And the bye week is here for the boys. Rob Demovsky, our guest tonight. Hey, but before we get back to Rob, we got to get our hot play of the day in. You know how it works. Our friends from Robinson's will give you a prize tonight if you guess the hot play of the game. Last night, you'll also get qualified for the grand prize drawing at the end of the year. A couple of indoor club seats to the rematch with the Lions at Lambeau. All right, Z.
Tim is up first. What's your guess, Tim?
What do you got?
Mason Crosby's field goal.
Well, he went from ice cold to the toastiest of the town. Yeah, that would just happen to be Mason Crosby.
Yes. Hunter Bradley, the snap. J.K. Scott down on one knee, arm extended. Here it is. Placement made. Kick is up. It is good. It is good. Mason Crosby delivers the dagger. 1 week after his worst day ever, he delivers the dagger tonight.
Here you go. Wayne and the grunting Larry on the call on the Packer Radio Network. Matter of 8 days, Crosby experienced the worst and one of the best.
This is a special one. This is one of my better days, and to be able to go out there and perform that way I did after last week, did a lot of soul searching this week and made sure I really locked in on my preparation, and it paid off.
Here you go. Way to go, Tim. You're in for our hot play. We'll do the cold play a little bit later on. What a story for Mason.
Last week in Detroit, we stood there in the locker room, and there was a huge media contingent around him, and he said, I usually only get this much attention when it's something extremely bad or extremely good. And the 2 weeks in a row, I mean, they had to pull Mason away from his locker.
I know, yeah.
Both times. Both in Detroit.
Take him to the middle of the room.
And last night where, I mean, otherwise there wouldn't have been room for the rest of the guys around him to change. And, for him to experience that gamut of emotions, our Cover 2 partner, Jason Wilde, sits next to me during the game, and with about 3 minutes to go, and they hadn't even scored the touchdown at this point to make it 30-30. I just said to Jason, wouldn't this be some heck of a story if it ended up coming down to a Mason Crosby kick? And sure enough, sometimes it works out that way. And, like you said many times, we don't necessarily root for this or that, but we root for a good story, and that was a good story.
Yeah, it was a really good story. In fact, Mason said he felt it. I mean, he really felt it on the PAT to make it 30-30.
Well, and that was, nerve-wracking in the sense of, here it is. I still wonder, and maybe some of the people in the stands there are here today, but when he got the cheer, for the first kick, PAT, was that more of a sarcastic cheer or was that a genuine cheer?
I think it was heartfelt. I thought it was. I sensed it was heartfelt.
And Rogers said he thought it was too. I just wondered.
I didn't ask Mason about it, but I'm sure he heard it. But I don't get the sense that the folks in the stadium are that mean-spirited.
No, but I mean, they can't. There's some booing that goes on.
Well, that's deserved. I mean, that.
And if Mason didn't have such a storied history with this franchise,
right.
Yeah, it may have been, kind of a jeering sort
Bronx
of
cheer.
Exactly. But yeah, he's so much of a fan favorite. I think it was legit.
And that's why I asked McCarthy that today. I think the rest of the team could just take note. If you screw up or have a bad game or you're in some sort of funk, just put your nose to the grindstone. As Mason always says, trust the process, trust the preparation, and go out and do your job the next week. And I think a lot of the guys on this team can probably learn something.
It's an example of how to come back from something like that. And look, mistakes are made all the time. Heck, I mean, we've seen breakdowns defensively, and sometimes you're lucky enough to get a second chance, and this is how you handle it.
Good thing it wasn't Mike Zimmer. Did you see the game? Got his rookie drafted for.
Yeah. Was it a hard call? No. Why not? Did you see the game?
No, that wasn't going to happen to Macy.
Yeah.
But that was a good story. And, yeah, he is our hot play of the day.
There were a lot of them, though. I mean, like some of those plays that Devontae Adams, the catch that St. Brown made on the back shoulder play on the sideline. There are a lot of them. I mean, look, the interception, Kevin King. I mean, what a time to come up with your first interception.
I couldn't believe it was his first.
Well, you would have thought he would have had one. He should have one by now, but he's missed a lot of time with injury, and that's a draft pick. We're talking about draft classes. That's a guy who needs to live up to where he was picked and the importance that they put on him.
I think they finally got this DB's 2x2 thing figured out.
Well, except for coming to your show, yeah.
Yeah, other than that, everything's good. But the Randall and Rollins thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alexander
we can go all the way back to Carroll and Thomas.
Alexander, if he gets healthy, looks like he's a playmaker, and Josh Jackson needs to learn how to play without holding all the time, but he's got potential.
Yeah, he's a little on the grabby side, but Devon House isn't going to come back.
No,
and
Tremont's probably a one year player.
I think Tremont is going to be this year's Jerry Evans.
Right. Yep.
So they got to go.
Yeah.
Question for both of you guys. What's been the toughest interview you guys have had since covering the Packers?
Ooh.
Toughest? Well, I'll say Sterling Sharp.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I guess toughest isn't toughest person to deal with or hardest subject matter.
I leave that up to you.
There's been some tough subject matters to deal with. Who was it a few years ago who lost their child, tight end? Andrew Corliss.
Yeah.
Came back, missed part of camp after losing a baby. That was tough. Toughest people to deal with. But I feel like we've been down this road.
You still have the autograph
before.
Picture in your office.
Brad Jones, not one of my favorites.
No? Why is that?
So I'll tell you the quick Brad Jones story. Brad Jones was one of those guys who was probably a pretty smart guy, but always thought he was going to outsmart the person asking the question, and it just made it very difficult. Like every question, you could have said the sky's blue, and he would have said no, it's black. I mean, he just had to be difficult. Well, he had a shoulder injury. And there was some question about whether he was going to play or not. Don't forget, he was a starter. I think what was it, 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there, starting outside linebacker, and he was not going to. He wasn't going to say anything about his shoulder. And I asked him just what the injury was, not even how it happened. He wouldn't even say how it happened. And finally, I can't remember what he said, but he basically said, I'm not going to answer anything. And I just said, well, then I have no use for you. And I walked away.
Did he argue that you did have a use for him just to be difficult?
He wanted to be.
Never talked to him after that.
Really?
Never talked to him since. And when he introduced the Packers, was it second round pick this year at the draft?
Yeah.
And I tweeted, well, they finally found a use for Brad Jones.
Sharp was an interesting case, because he was one of the most effervescent, outgoing rookies you could imagine. Number one pick, South Carolina. Really a lot of fun, very smart, very humorous. And then about midway through his first season, there were a couple of stories about his drops. And he was so taken by that he just clammed up completely. And I'll never forget the 1994 playoff game in Detroit. Caught the touchdown from Favre to win the game, 28-24. Poor Lee Remmel, God rest his soul, literally had to drag Sharp into the media room to talk about the game-winning touchdown. He was very curt, standoffish, and then he goes to goes to your place in the NFL Network, wherever.
Does he still work? I don't know.
He does, and he couldn't shut him up.
Matt, the interesting thing is, I'm curious. Like fans, I think they want to hear from these guys, don't they?
Yes.
Jimmy Graham's an interesting case because he clearly does not like to talk to the media, but when he does, he's really good at it. He gives good answers. He tells good stories, but for whatever reason, they've had to coax him out, and he and I, had a little bit of a public exchange over his look. It is in their contract that they have to talk to the media. It's the connection to the fans. Now I realize social media has changed that. They can post things, fans can get to know them that way.
They can connect to the fans themselves,
right?
But
I do think the real fans do want to hear what these guys have to say, and I think players look at us as sort of the enemy, but what we really are the connection between them and the fans. And that's the thing with Jimmy Graham is he's actually started to talk a little bit more. And
I missed him last night.
Yeah,
he talked last night.
He did late, but he's very good at it.
I know.
And he's interesting. And he's somebody that has good takes on things.
He has some great quotes about how Aaron's playing and how much he really wanted to be a part of.
If he was terrible, we wouldn't want to talk to him.
Exactly.
But he's actually really good at it.
And he's not a long snapper either.
Yeah.
So who's been the best interviewer, best player to have interactions with over the years?
I think Tramon Williams is among the best of all time. I mean, he's a guy who, no matter what story you're working on, you can go to him and he will give you a good, thoughtful answer. Brett Favre was that way too.
Early. First,
I still thought he was.
Two-thirds of his
even
career.
At the end, I thought he was. But Devontae Adams, so far, knock on wood, has not changed. The money hasn't changed him. The success hasn't changed him. He's a guy right now that you can go to, and he'll never say no, even though he's become a pretty big star. Very approachable, very thoughtful. It's sort of refreshing because you mentioned Sharp. Receivers tend to be a little diva-ish.
Yeah.
Greg Jennings got that way. Jordy, I think, got a little bit that way at the end.
Driver certainly got that way.
Definitely got that way at the end.
I like Charles Woodson.
Yeah, another guy who didn't really talk a lot, but when he did,
but
was very good.
But he did, and you know what? And he is so kind of cocooned,
right?
But when Clay Matthews gets going.
He's good.
I like Clay.
Yeah, Clay's good. I mean, over the years, I think the best guys to talk to are the backup quarterbacks, the kickers. They have a lot of time on their hands.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, think of the guys that
and
have
they
been
want the attention.
Yeah, think of the guy. I mean, Doug Peterson was always very, very good. And now it's interesting to see as a head coach, he's head coach-like.
Yes.
But Doug would explain
around
things.
Andy Reid too much.
Doug would explain things to you. He would tell you what went on behind the scenes. Matt Hasselbeck was the same way. Ryan Longwell was very good. Offensive linemen over the years have been very good. But on this team, I mean, I put Tramon Williams and Devontae Adams up there with all-time guys over the years. Micah Hyde was very good when he was here. Those are guys that they got it. They understood what their role was in terms of
what
the
we're
connection.
all about and why we're there.
What the connection is between them and the fans and how you make that connection.
All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll look for a cool play of the day and look ahead to what's, we touched on it briefly, but what's ahead for these guys when we come back. Fifth quarter returns right after this from the Stadium View.
We now return you to the fifth quarter, live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill. Here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back. Well, we're just flying by this hour. Packers over the Niners last night, 33-30 on the Mason Crosby walk-off. That was our hot play of the day. Time for a cold play for the game last night. Same thing. Robinsons will get you a prize tonight, get you qualified for the Lions game at the end of the year. All right, Z.
What's your guess?
The long touchdown pass to Goodwin.
What, 2 for 2 tonight. Coldest play came after the Pack's hot start. They built a 17-7 lead late in the first, but the Niners put a chill in the D when C.J. Beathard took the top off.
Beathard going to take a shot downfield. And he connects. Goodwin. Niners strike goal.
There you go. The ESPN call last night. 67-yard bomb capped a 3-play, 78-yard series that turned this game into a shootout.
I didn't realize how fast that guy was.
I didn't know much
Their
about
running
him at
backs
all.
are fast, too.
I like Breida.
I thought their speed was a huge difference early on in the game.
McCarthy said they came out and played faster than we did.
Yeah, I just think the way the play, how fast their players are. I've thought for years, and we've talked about this on shows before, is that everyone they got to tackle better, they got to be tougher. I think they just need to be faster. They need to get faster.
I know
players.
one of the former scouts up there, who has now left the organization, came up to me and kind of sidled up to me, and we're getting closer to the draft, and I said, "What do you guys think of it?" And that's all he said. One word: speed.
Yeah,
need more speed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think people, criticize HaHa Clinton Dix for missing plays, and rightly so. But I don't think it's that. I don't think it's the effort. I don't think it's that he's unwilling to do it. I think he's not quick enough to get into position at times, and therefore it makes it look like he's turning down plays. He's just not fast.
And
I
that was
don't mean to
evident
pick
in our
on
cold
him,
play last night. All right, King blitzes. Goodwin shoots up the middle. Martinez has to turn and run for a moment.
Right,
and Kentrell Bryce not fast enough to close the gap.
Exactly. There's a reason he was undrafted.
The need for speed.
Yeah.
Favorite place to cover a game not named Lambeau Field?
Ooh. You know, some of the really cool stadiums, the press box is in the end zone. Like, New England's a really cool stadium, but our seats are looking through the goalposts. So I don't enjoy covering the game.
Same with FedEx. Terrible.
Yeah, well, that place is a dump anyway.
My God. We talked about the rain inside.
I think Seattle is also a really cool stadium. Really neat place. Our seats are only okay there, but
I think Arrowhead is fun.
Yeah, it's loud. It's old school.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean, you know, the atmosphere in Seattle, that's the loudest outdoor stadium I've ever been. My least favorite place to cover a game was by far the Metrodome.
Yeah.
It was so loud and fake loud, you know, just completely that Guns N' Roses song over and over.
The horn. And what bothered me most was we are midway up, and the stands are literally 6 feet in front of you.
Right.
And
it was a great viewpoint from the 50-yard line and low, but people would walk right in front of you.
People are walking right by you.
Yelling at Ted Thompson, who's sitting behind us.
You know, and it's open air, so they'd be able to turn and yell at us.
That was the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever seen. Was the first game after Favre. I don't know if he was the year he got traded or the year he was actually playing for the Vikings. But fans, I mean, Ted. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the GM and the president, Mark Murphy, they sit in the press box on the road. I didn't realize that before I covered the NFL, and people are just yelling at Ted. I actually kind of felt bad for him. My first realization was that when these guys sat in the press box with us was my first road game at Chicago in 1997. I had never covered an NFL game before. I'm at Chicago, and there's a Packers player gets hurt on a kickoff, and I hear this. And press box is a quiet place. They're supposed to be. I hear this voice from behind me saying, "Drag him off the field and let's play." And I didn't want to turn around, and I nudged Pete Doherty. I said, "Who was that?" He goes, "It was Wolf." I go, "Ron Wolf? About his own player?" He goes, "Yep."
Ron Wolf said,
"That's great.
Drag him off the field and let's play about one of his own guys."
Wolf was
he was vicious.
Hired in November of '91.
Yeah,
Lindy's team was tanking badly.
Yeah,
we all know that. And the first game that he was employed by the Packers was in Atlanta. And you all know the story.
Right.
He went early and looked at Favre and this and that, but he sat directly behind me in that game in the press box at Old Fulton County Stadium. Same kind of thing. He saw what that team was all about, and you could hear him just whispering throughout the game, "This is bad.
Well,
gotta go.
This
gotta go."
The story, the legend that I had heard about Wolf and press boxes, it was before I covered the team, but I've heard that this is true, was the George Teague 100-yard interception in the playoffs at Detroit.
Yeah.
And what does it take? How long does it take a defensive back to run 100 yards? 10, 12 seconds?
Yeah, it should be.
Whatever it is. As I got to stand up to do what Wolf did, but as he's returning it, Wolf stands up in the press box and he's yelling, "Shove it up there, blank! Shove it up there, blank!" I mean, the whole time that he's running down. I mean, now it's loud, it's open air, so it wasn't like being in a quiet press box. But Wolf was, "Shove it up there, shove it up there!" You know, just as Teague's running the whole 100 yards down the field.
I miss that emotion.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. That never would happen anymore because somebody in the press box would film it. It would end up on social media. Yeah. But the raw emotion, we still hear. You'll hear the scouts that sit behind us on the road slam their fist when something doesn't go right, or. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thing that people would never. I just never realized that those guys sat in the press box.
Yeah, they do. All right, so. 3-2-1 bye week. We talked about the gauntlet in front of them. Can McCarthy get this thing figured out? Let's say the brace goes away.
Yeah,
Allison, Cobb stay healthy. Balaga doesn't keep going down in games, and Pettin kind of is able to dial things up if they're at least even or ahead.
Right
down the stretch.
Since they've already got a tie, if they could go 2-2-1. In this stretch with another tie. That'd be pretty good. I can't see him winning more than 2 of these games, though. I really can't.
Playoff bound or not?
Well, I still puts them in a position. What's the schedule? What is it after?
All right, here we go.
After this stretch, I mean, it's manageable.
Arizona, Atlanta.
Yeah, Arizona, Atlanta is not good. I still don't think the Bears are great. The Jets aren't any good. And Detroit at home. I mean, you could easily go run the table there, and win those last 5. So that puts you at 10 wins?
Yeah, that'd be 10.
Well, they get to 10.
Right. If you win 2 of these games, I think you're fine. But I'm not sure. I have a hard time finding which 2 they're going to win. Yeah, Miami's not bad.
Can win. I think they can beat Miami here. I think they can beat Seattle. I just don't think Seattle is Seattle anymore.
Yeah, boy, what a start it would be if they could get the one in L.A., though.
That's why I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Just to see the Rams in person. Just to get back to L.A. Last game I covered in L.A. was the Raiders and the Packers at the Coliseum.
That's the only NFL city I've never covered a game in.
Brought in that power lifter guy. It was just a mess. And Jackie kicked, I think, 6 field goals or something like that.
Okay.
And they upset the Raiders. And
At the Coliseum?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Rob, what a great time.
Well, thanks
really
for having
appreciate
me.
you coming
we'll
over.
Tell some more press box stories next time.
I think we were enlightening a lot of people on what our job is really about.
Shove it up there, Ron Wolf.
Have a good week off.
All right,
see you next week.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Demovsky, our guest. Don't go away. When we come back, we're sending somebody to the pro shop, and we'll wrap things up right after this time out.
Live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill, here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Bears get upset by the Dolphins on the weekend in overtime. Vikings, they were a winner over Arizona. So, yeah, it's a jumbled mess in the NFC North. Stick around. I think we're going to have some fun when we come off the bye. A reminder, they may be not playing, but we will. We'll be back next Monday night with another edition of the fifth quarter. And in the meantime, we're going to send somebody who came out tonight to enjoy our conversation with Rob to the Packer Pro Shop from our friends at Robinson's.
Cheryl Van.
Cheryl
Van.
You got yourself a gift card. All right, Z. Enough of the nonsense. Let's play a complete game and see what happens with these guys. Get well and get right. See what happens.
That'd be nice. The defense did it against Buffalo. Hopefully they can do it against the Rams, although that's not going to happen.
And the offense is putting up 500
offense
plus,
is too good,
and they go over 30 for the first time this year. So let's see what's in store for the Pack. Until then, have yourself a good week off.
Enjoy your bye week.
I will. Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.
And until next Monday night, thanks for coming out. So long, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.